welcome. I do invite everyone to join us on screen if you are comfortable doing so. And we're going to get started right away. My name is Rosie Grant, and I am the Executive Director of Patterson Education Fund. I have my colleagues here with me today and some other folks that I want to introduce, but we're going to just get started with the presentation. And in the course of the presentation, we will do introductions. So let me share my screen. So we're here from the Patterson Education Fund, where our mission is to stimulate community action for change so that Patterson Public Schools ensure that all Patterson children achieve high standards. We've expanded that to the state of New Jersey and actually work with some national partners as well, because we realize that Patterson does not exist in a bubble. And what we want for Patterson's children, we want for all our children. So it is our pleasure to work with the hub today to bring you this workshop. So we're doing this in collaboration and as a contractor to the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub. The workshop is being presented in partnership with the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub, which is the State Family Engagement Center housed at SPAN Parent Advocacy Network.
Good afternoon. As we'll go over some agreements for this presentation, be respectful, be fully present, speak from the I perspective, your thoughts and your feelings. One mic, one person speak at a time. You want to step up and step back. If you find yourself talking too much, just step back a little bit and let someone else take a chance. Listen before speaking. Be comfortable with silence. Know that it is okay. Land the plane. No need to keep going on and on. Just get your point across and just remember the time. And please, please, please always honor confidentiality. And can I get a thumbs up if you can agree to these agreements? Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Before we move forward, Brenda, I'm going to pick on you, ask you to also introduce yourself and give us a quick check-in just to see how people are doing. I did not include a check-in slide today.
Absolutely. So, welcome everyone again. My name is Brenda Ramos, and I'm the program director over at Patterson Education Fund. And given that it is the new year, day 5 of the new year, 2026, I invite you to unmute or write in the chat if you prefer. What is one thing that is giving you hope for this new year? One thing that's giving you hope for this new year. I'll go ahead and go first. What's giving me hope this new year, for this new year, is seeing the young people so involved in their communities, specifically in Patterson and where I live, Jersey City, but throughout New Jersey and across the US, I'm seeing more and more young people being involved civically, which is something that used to be taught in school and it wasn't. It's no longer in most schools. But yeah, that is giving me hope. And I will pass it to Ms. Linda with some loving kindness.
Thank you, Brenda. What's giving me hope? That spring is coming. Don't like the cold. Well, I'm hoping for warm weather soon. But yeah, just being in the land of the living, I tell you, so many folks that you hear and are going on, and it's just, you know, grateful to be here. And with that, I will pass it on over to Jeanette with some good vibes.
Thank you for those good vibes. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. So, what am I coming into this year with? Is that the question?
What's one thing that's giving you hope for this
Oh,
new year?
the one thing that's given me hope is people. I know that sounds crazy, but there are still good people left in this world and kindness. And I find every day that my faith is restored in humanity. So that's what gives me hope. And I'm going to pass it with high vibration and frequency to Rosie.
Thank you. I receive the high vibration and frequency. I love that. Let's steal it. Um, there's a story behind this phrase, but tonight I'm just going to share the phrase, and some other time I'll share the story. What gives me hope is the phrase, this too shall pass. So I am holding on to that. And with abundant hope and great expectations, I will pass it to Vilma.
Thank you, Rosie, except for your positive expectations. One thing that gives me hope for this year is community engagement, where parents, teachers, and the whole community comes together for the benefit of our children. That will give me a lot of hope. And with a lot of gratitude, I will pass it to this one lady, Katie. Is Katie
Irene,
there?
that's probably you.
Is Katie
Let's
there?
pass.
Or
No, I don't see a Katie.
Oh, maybe she
okay.
means Kayari.
Yari, yes, I'm sorry.
Kayari. That's yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So what main thing that's giving my name is Carrie Tyler. I'm working as far as with SPAN, facilitator behind the scenes. Main thing giving me hope today, my I have a 1-year-old who is starting to talk. I don't know, it might be a bit weird, but it's like for his entire existence so far, he's been a barely sentient potato, and it's nice to be able to see a person start to really come out with opinions and want to say things. Right now, it's, a bunch of goo goo gaga, but, it's very, 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 passionate. Um, who, who is left as far as the popcorn on? I guess some of our guests that we have.
Martha, Vanessa, Katerina, or Whitney.
Then I'm going to popcorn over to Martha.
Hi, everybody. My name is Martha. I'm the community engagement person and the CPIS for Pleasantville Public Schools. And one thing that gives me hopes for this coming year is purpose. I see it in the young people. I see it in administration. I see it with the teachers. They came in with ganas and its purpose. And that's what brings me hope this year. And with love and gratitude, I pass it on to who's got the who did you say was
Vanessa, let's see if Vanessa can take it next.
Vanessa, yes.
Hi, everyone. Happy Monday. Martha, I receive your love and your gratitude. And my name is Vanessa. I live in Atlantic County. And something that gives me hope for this year is resilience. Resilience within myself, resilience within my family and loved ones, but also within my community. And so necessary during these times. So with that, I will pass it on. Let me see if I can see um, any other folks who have not been on. Katerina, did Katerina go already? Katerina or Whitney? Thank you, everybody.
Brenda, shall we move on?
Yes. Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
So I'll go back. Thank you all so much. And thank you for sharing that hope. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen. And we'll move to the next slide. So this is Healing Centered Engagement Part 2. We did Part 1 in December, and that was focused on adverse childhood experiences and trauma-informed care. And this is the third in a series of workshops that was created by New Jersey Principals and Supervisors Association in collaboration with New Jersey Education Association, the Teachers Union, and the Mental Health Association in New Jersey. And when it started initially, it was funded by the Burke Foundation, Princeton Area Community Foundation, New Jersey Pandemic Relief Fund, and the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation. I do know that the Schumann Fund also gave some support. So I'm one of the trainers and bring this to you, developed by NJPSA, but sharing it through the New Jersey Family Engagement Hub today. And Vilma's going to walk us through the agenda.
Thank you. The agenda for our next two sessions is first, to discuss adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. Second, to unpack trauma. Third, to discuss trauma-informed care. Fourth, to identify the approaches, positive childhood experiences, PCEs. And fifth, to discuss some things you can do in the classroom to support the students. Thank you.
Thank you, Vilma. So these things were developed for in-classroom use, but also apply to in-home use and in community settings use. So I hope that you will take them and adapt them as necessary. This is a brief overview. The full training is hours long, and so we're just going to bring you pieces of this in this 1 hour that we have together today.
All right. So during the previous workshop and this workshop, as well as the following, we recommend that you think about creating a personal safety plan for yourself. And think about what are some things that you might do to create a sense of safety and grounding in challenging situations, but also when you're learning about trauma-informed care, healing-centered engagement, and ACEs. Some of this material might feel overwhelming or triggering. And as we start to talk about this topic, it's important to have quick ways in which we can feel grounded and resourced. Sometimes when we think of safety, we think solely of physical safety, but it's very important to also consider psychological, emotional, cultural safety, etc. A personal safety plan is a list of ways a person can mentally or physically ensure they feel a sense of safety and grounding, especially if a topic or an exercise or environment is perceived as potentially threatening or activating. Once you create your personal safety plan, it's a good idea to have it handy with you, maybe on your phone or, as a rubber band on your wrist. When you feel unsafe, you can look at your phone, the plan on your phone, or snap, rubber band on your wrist to remind you of your plan. The goal of this personal safety plan, or the PSP, is to reduce stress on you and on other people around you who are sharing this experience. Next slide, please. So the personal safety plan, or the PSP, can include internal safety examples, like mentally acknowledging your power and find ways to maintain your safety internally. You might take a deep breath and relax your body, take your mind to a peaceful place, picturing it in your mind. You might create a personal statement of assurance and repeat that mentally, verbally, or in writing. And then external examples might be noticing where the exits are, using fidget toys, a stress ball, and taking just mental breaks, brain breaks. A cold glass of water, or a small cup of water, just some sips of cold water, is very helpful to help recenter yourself. Eating a piece of chocolate, dark chocolate is my favorite, and listening to music, maybe, putting your earbuds in for a few minutes,
Not
and
right now.
not right now, but at other points. And again, have it handy with you, have these ideas, write down 4 or 5 specific ways you can engage your personal safety plan when you feel unsettled or unsafe. And then if you'd like, you can share 1 or 2 in the chat if anything comes to mind. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Mine is prayer. Whisper a little prayer, even in crowds and chaos. That's a key part of my personal safety plan. So let's dive into the topic. We thought it was important, since we're talking about healing centered engagement and we practice being healing centered, it was important for us to do that check in and overview before getting into the meat of today's workshop. So let's be clear that healing centered engagement is building on and expanding trauma informed care. It's important to have trauma-informed care, but based on this workshop, you will see that there does need to be more. So the term was coined by Dr. Sean Ginwright in 2018. Dr. Ginwright is a professor now at Harvard. At the time, he was at San Francisco State University. And this came out of his work with young people, young Black men in particular, or young Black youth. And you'll see some of that as we go through the workshop. What's important is that he wants us to think about strengths and possibilities when working with our young people in an asset-based model, not a deficit-based model, and to think about strength and possibilities in communities. He also centered this work on the importance of healthy adults in the care of children. And so that is why we want to make sure that we're okay as we are helping our kids to be okay as well. So it doesn't discount all the stuff we talked about before about the adverse childhood experiences or trauma informed care. It's merely an extension of these concepts with some strategies about how to move in the direction of becoming healing centered. So I do want to share with you a video of Dr. Ginwright, and we'll watch it briefly and then talk about it in a moment.
Welcome, Sean. Thanks so much for being here.
Great. Thank you for having me, Francesca.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So I really was turned on to you by the article that you wrote in Medium. I think it was published a few months ago. And it was the shift in talking about something that a lot of people talk about, trauma informed, to something that shifted to healing centered. Can you talk about that maybe at a fundamental level, if that's an okay place to start?
Sure. Yeah. I think, my own work for years has been working with young people who come from and live and play and grow up in really difficult environments and very challenging neighborhoods. And my work has really, as I was trained as an educator and then as a sociologist, and really was only trained to identify the kind of problems and challenges in these neighborhoods and communities, but not much about what to do about it. And so I've been really struggling and trying to really have a deeper understanding of not only about the conditions and the issues that young people were bringing to me in my own community work, working with young people, but more interested in the conditions that produce the trauma and produce the issues. And so, about 4 years ago, I was in a healing circle with these young men that I wrote about, and they really pushed me about, and they didn't say it this way, but they really wanted me to center the conversation on their full humanity, as opposed to a piece of what happened to them. And when they pushed me, I really took it seriously. And that is, how do I embrace and how do I begin to think and how do I act in ways that see these young men not as problems to be solved or not as treatment targets, but really full human beings that deserve to be saturated with an opportunity to live their full human potential. And so that is what prompted me to really do some thinking and soul searching about, well, what does it mean to provide young men with an opportunity to be fully human, even in the context of their trauma. And so that's where I began to sort of write about this concept around healing-centered engagement and really shifting the nomenclature from trauma-informed care to healing-centered engagement, which is not just a naming process, but a paradigm shift in thinking about ways to have a holistic, loving, humanistic approach to people who experience trauma.
Take that off. Thank you. So going back to the PowerPoint, let me get on the right slide. It's interesting, and we like this quote from what you just saw in that interview. No. How do I act in ways that see people not as problems to be solved, but as full human beings that deserve to be saturated with opportunities to reach their full potential? He says this in the interview, and it really encompasses the inspiration and the commitment to center this healing-centered engagement work, this project that I'm presenting to you. How do I act in ways that see people not as treatment targets, but as full human beings? And this include our kids, right? They're young people, they're children, they're infants, regardless of where they are in life, they are full human beings and they deserve to be saturated with opportunities. So we're working towards finding these answers. We don't have all the answers, but what we have for you this evening is some more information about healing, being healing centered, about becoming healing centered in our work and in our lives. This is not limited to what happens inside schools and what happens inside classrooms. So we're going to present one model. Dr. Jen Wright from that point went on to create the Flourish Institute, which has done some tremendous work in healing-centered engagement, in building this out, creating curriculums, et cetera, and is now continuing his work as a Harvard professor and the first blog that I subscribe to because I just want to soak in all of what he has to say. So what we're asking today and presenting is a paradigm shift. We know that we already reviewed in the last workshop the paradigm shift from going, what's wrong with you, to what happened to you. And today we wanted to take it a little bit further and ask, what's right about you? And that's a question a lot of people get stuck on, but we want to consider it about ourselves, and we want to consider it about our children as well. And so healing centered engagement is going to add this frame of possibilities and this frame of strengths as we parent and lead and teach. So a piece of that third piece of the paradigm shift is to move from understanding behavior and misbehavior as a symptom of individual trauma. We talked about how 60% of the adult population have experienced some form of trauma, and we define trauma. But now we want to move from thinking misbehavior is a symptom of that one person's trauma to understanding that any behavior is an indicator of stress or inequity in the community. Not only what this person is experiencing, but the stress in the community and the inequity that we are living in as a society. We also want to shift from identity-focused trauma to identity-focused on possibility. This goes back to what we learned from Dr. Ginwright and the youth, that they told him that their identities were more than just trauma survivors. We are trauma survivors, many of us. However, there's more to what we are than what we've been through. What's the phrase, Linda? I don't look like what I've been through, or I ain't what I've been through. So
I look
that's a
like,
piece of the premise, right?
yeah.
That's a piece of the premise of being healing centered about ourselves and about the people that we're working with and or trying to help. We're not the bad things that happen to us. Our identities are more than the trauma, and it's about other multitude of selves that we have from our cultures, our context, our ancestral history, our choices. We saw in the last workshop that we carry the trauma of our ancestors in our DNA. And so we are here, we want to ask this question. Let's think about it and allow ourselves to go into other spaces such as racism, sexism, ableism, as we think about identity and think about trauma, because when your identity is not recognized, it dehumanizes you as an individual, and it dehumanizes us as a traumatized community. So we're moving out of this idea that anybody should be seen as less than, and moving to the possibilities of what we are and who we can become as a society. So we also want to move from trauma interventions being clinical treatment from mental health professionals. And let me say, we still need that, right? We still need the clinical treatment from mental health professionals, but we're not that. So we want to consider trauma interventions as healing centered systems, policies, and practices from everyone in the community. So we all play a role when it comes to being healing centered. So the healing process is also not only individual and clinical, as we could, traditionally psychotherapy would look like, but now we want structures and systems that don't continue the traumatic experiences. We want to shift them so that they serve us and help us to truly heal. So it's about restoration and healing more so than about coping. It does not replace the need to cope, but it pushes us just a little bit further. We think coping is not enough. We want to understand the conditions and structures and the systems that have produced the trauma. Because sometimes it's just the way the systems that are set up to help us fail us, and it becomes a traumatic experience. So when we think about healing centered engagement, we acknowledge that we must look at and try to fix the root causes. And then finally, here, we must utilize authentic human connection to heal, going back to remembering that the people we interact with and the people we serve are human. And it even brings me back to our agreements. Now, respect, listen, allow other people to have voice, etc. So we'll go into the framework in a little bit. This is, as I said, an introduction. So explicitly, healing-centered engagement is political. It's about changing systems. It's about changing behavior. It is not clinical because we are not licensed to provide clinical support. And I don't want anyone to walk away from that thinking that they can provide clinical support. So this next slide, I want to skip over because I have it in the wrong place. But there is a reflection here, and we're also tight on time. But do note it in your journal, and we may come back to it later. Is a question that we ask inside the schools. What structures do you currently have in place in your school or community that centers on healing? And I do want to ask quickly, can you think of anything in your school that you work with or in your community that is centered on healing? And my first response is full service community schools, because we're looking at how we serve the whole child and that child's family. Are there other things that you might think of? Just pop it out that are healing that are already in place. Any ideas? Feel free to unmute. I can't see the chat, but if you want to put in the chat, someone else can call it out.
Yes, in the chat we have Vanessa writing advocating and community allies.
Absolutely. Faith-based centers, churches, synagogues, mosques usually are healing centered. Sometimes it's, community sports activities or cultural celebrations, an African American parade, or any of the Hispanic or Latino parades, etc., are things that are healing because they're recognizing our cultures.
So could restorative justice be one of those things that are
Absolutely, yes. Yes. So there are some things in place already that we can acknowledge are healing centered, and we can think about how to expand on those or bring more to light. So one thing about being healing centered is it works to restore identity. We're going to talk about the structure, but there's so much that goes into making me, making you, and while we have similarities, making us unique, each of us as a person. And the same for our young people. They have different things that have come together to build each individual's identity. And if we're going to be healing centered, we have to acknowledge what that identity is. So here's a reflection for you that we'll do quickly in the chat or out loud. The first question, this should have been animated, but the first question is, what is the first identity that you use to identify yourself? One thing, if I just met you, I can't see you, we've had no conversation, there's no context. Say I'm an alien from out of space, a real alien. What is the first identity that you would tell me I am, without it being your name, something about you that forms you? Any thoughts about what that first identity is?
nationality?
Could be your nationality, religion, right?
Sex,
Sex
Your
slash
heritage.
gender, Say that
Gender.
again.
Heritage.
Heritage, right? So
And
the
in the
second half of
comments,
this,
I'm sorry, in the comments, Kyrie
mhm,
wrote interests and beliefs.
sure. So the first identity that comes to your mind. So it could be for me, it depends on the day. Today I'm going to say woman. Okay. Here's the other question for your first identity. Do you always feel that this primary identity is welcomed and honored?
And very quickly, I missed Linda's identity, mother, which is very
Okay.
important.
Okay. So now, do you always feel that your primary identity is welcomed and honored?
Currently, no.
Mine is no. Do we have any yeses? Generally speaking, for most people, the answer is no. For the males of the dominant class in a society, the answer is almost always yes. So that's something that we need to work on as a healing-centered society, is making sure that whatever identity a person brings to the table is in fact honored. So healing-centered engagement also focuses on the well-being that we want, not where we are today. This is the third tenet. It's the healing that we want, not the symptoms that we're treating. And Dr. Jinwright talks about not just targeting treatment, but also focusing on well-being and possibilities. So he tells his young people to focus on their dreams, not the worst thing that has happened, but the greatest thing that could happen. So, another reflection as we think about our young people and our children, imagine that you're packing a backpack for a child that contains the essentials for success. What would you pack? And I'll pause while you write it in the chat, Brenda. If you could continue reading it out, that'd be great. And if you want to unmute and respond, that's wonderful.
Hi, Rosie. Is this tangible? Things that we're packing in the
You tell
backpack?
me. You tell me.
Okay.
Essentials for success. My first one is love and happiness. So mine is not tangible so much. So what are some other thoughts? What do our kids need in order to succeed?
Respect.
Mm-hmm.
In the chat, we have Martha wrote financial literacy for generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa wrote courage, confidence, love. Jeanette shared empathy, compassion, kindness. Vanessa shared self-esteem, and Jeanette shared self-love. All of them are excellent.
Yeah, indeed. So thank you for that. I want to put a cheerleader in there too for every child.
Yes. Kyrie wrote, I would pack stories of life and
Mhm.
wisdom. I love that.
Love it. Love it. Thank you so much. This group is inspired.
Mm.
Um, so now our fourth tenet is healing-centered engagement supports the healing adults. As I said before, we've all experienced some kind of trauma or adverse childhood experience, and it's important that we heal as adults as we help our children to cope and heal. And so a part of this is acknowledging what has happened to us and acknowledging all the things we said to this point, that it does not make us who we are. There are many things that make us who we are, and working on our own healing. So it's critical to not just create transactional relationships. And transaction is like in a teacher and a student. I teach, you learn, or you buy something I ring up the transaction and pack it in a bag and you walk away. You pay me and you walk away. That's transactional. What we want is transformative relationships where something is changing and people are connecting and we're creating opportunities for ongoing deep reflection and support. We come to work, we all do our work, never talk to each other. That's transactional. It does not create a healing centered environment. Asking, as we did, how are you doing, or what gives you hope, or whatever the prompt might be, begins to create those transformational relationships. So here's a quote to just think about, jot it down. You will get the slides. If your compassion does not include yourself, it is incomplete. Very important. It calls for compassion for yourself, some self-care. Think about the energetic expense of our work, our relationships. You know, sometimes they do pull, sometimes they are draining. How are you replenishing? If you're gonna be a compassionate person, you must find the thing and take the time to fill your own cup so that you can continue to do this healing work for others. So, how do we engage in a healing way?
There you
So,
are.
here is Dr. Jinwright's idea of um, how we heal. So, it's called karma, but it's not the karma we're used to. It's karma with a C. And in this karma, it's a framework, right? It's about culture. The C is for culture. Have restorative conversations about identity. Talk about what makes us individuals important as individuals. The A is for agency. Develop youth voice and encourage agency. Help our young people have purpose in everything. And it starts from the little one helping you to set the table or whatever the case may be. My grandson, when he comes over, puts on my gloves. So I keep a pair for him and he wants to clean. We're not cleaning, but he has agency. He has a purpose. He thinks he's cleaning, right? So I'm not saying trick him, but help our young people find agency, their reason for being and for doing. The R is for relationships. Be sure that you're creating spaces to be vulnerable and empathetic in your homes, in your work. The spaces can be physical spaces, but also the social emotional space. Build that trust so that people feel that they can be vulnerable in your company. The M is for meaning. Remember your purpose and help them to find theirs. And then the A is for aspiration. Set some goals and work toward it and help the young people set some goals to work toward. They can be short term and then long term. Doesn't have to be everything must happen within this year or whatever the case may be. So this is the karma we want to bite us. This is the karma that we work on and we project and we adapt and we become. And this is Sean Jinwright's 5 parts of healing centered engagement. So there are 3 levels on which we do all of these, and I'm going to walk through them fairly quickly as we approach the last 12 minutes or so of this workshop. So the first of the three levels are individual, interpersonal, and institutional. So we're going to take a look first at the individual actions. Cultivate a state of wondering and curiosity. So that means you are not prying into people's business, but you are investing some time to talk to people to see what's going on with them. For yourself, you have to practice reflection and self care. Uncover those things that prevent us from being more human with each other. Look into yourself, look into your experiences, look into your actions. Is there some implicit bias? Are you buying into a biased system? Is there a way that you can suspend judgment? Is there a way that you can reduce fear of the unknown? Have you ever crossed the street because there were some black guys in the path on that side of the road? Have you clutched your purse more tightly? Examine those things and know what they are that prevent us from being more human to the people that we come in contact with. Find ways to heal from your own trauma. If you need that clinical intervention, acknowledge it and get it, and help us to remove the stigma from mental health aid. And dream big. This is Dr. Jen Wright's quote: I saturate my thoughts about what may be impossible. I see the thing that does not yet exist. So work on that. Take this quote, write it down, print it, display it where you continue to remind yourself to see that dream, to see that thing that does not yet exist. And then play. Do something for joy every day, all the time. Some one thing for joy and nothing else. So then there are the interpersonal actions, how we relate to each other. Invest time in fostering transformational, not just transactional relationship from the start. Is there someone that you have a transactional relationship with that you could start moving into that transformational state? Build authentic partnerships with students, with your friends, with your family, with the families you serve, and be a part of the community you serve. By this, we don't mean you have to move in, but it does mean attend some community events, go to something, be seen. A little bit more than get to work and get in and out of your car in the parking lot. Uh, uh, I go to church in Patterson. I don't live there, but I'm certainly a member of the community through both my work and my church and the other relationships that have been built over time. Be relentless about noticing strengths. Notice your own, and then notice the strengths in others as well. Uphold relationships as the main vehicle for learning and healing. We learn from each other and we heal with each other. And cultivate your ability to co-regulate. We talked about this when we did the trauma-informed care. Lend your calm to others instead of managing or disciplining. And we talked about ways of how we can do that by lowering our voice, by slowing the pace at which we speak, not by rising to the irritation and the anxiety and anxiousness that may exist in the space. And then the last of the three actions is institutional action. This is where you're called to advocacy. Confront and transform structural issues in our schooling community. Just because it's always been that way does not mean it's right, does not mean it serves you, does not mean it serves the community, does not mean it's healing centered. So when something needs to change, call it out. Identify and disrupt social toxins in our school and community: fear, anxiety, shame, uncertainty, racism, discrimination. We had a family move in on our block. They had parties and the people came. We have a clean block. People came, they left litter all around. One of our neighbors wrote a letter for everybody to sign to give to this family. And they brought me the letter and I said, did you talk to them? No, but we wanted to let them know. I was like, no, I'm sorry, I can't sign it. If I need to be the person to talk to them, I will. But my recommendation is, since you're in leadership doing this letter, Go have a conversation. So don't start with this fear and anxiety and shame, etc. Start with that conversation and then work to disrupt and change. That was a social toxic approach. Evaluate and revise school discipline policies and practices through a healing-centered engagement frames. We did that through restorative practices in Patterson, and now have introduced the restorative practices and the healing-centered work. So it calls us to action. If you're going to be healing-centered, you should work. You can't start them all at the same time, but eventually you should be working individually, interpersonally, and institutionally to make these changes. So we have 6 minutes left. There's a video I want to show you. Some of you may have seen it before, but let's just quickly watch the video and I'll stop talking.
Hey, Mr. Q. Did you see that? Why would somebody do that?
Please go into the classroom, no talking, quietly.
Hey, Miss Merida, how you doing?
We need you inside.
How do you think that makes us feel? I forgot my number.
What's your name?
Jordan.
What's your last name?
Carter.
All right. Go ahead.
School is hard enough.
Come on in, sit down quietly at your desks, and begin writing.
This kind of stuff just makes it harder.
I said quietly, please. Who's talking? Is it you, Sophie? Don't let it be you.
Don't believe me?
Sophie.
Please just watch.
I'm not up here for me, I'm up here for you. Pay attention, okay? Now, somebody answer me. Somebody needs to answer me really fast.
Every time we're ignored or yelled at or silenced, a teacher takes away what's possible.
No horseplay, no running, and especially no talking.
Moment by moment.
Miss McGarity, your student's behavior yesterday in the lunchroom, it was terrible. Next time, silent lunch.
Did you hear that? Stay in line and catch a bubble. I'm not playing.
If this is education, we're in trouble. Bye, Miss McGarity. Frederick Douglass said, once you learn to read, you'll be forever free. The way it is now, 2 of the 3 of us will never be able to really read. It doesn't have to be this way.
Hey, Jordan, how you doing?
Good.
Good.
Everyone we meet throughout our day can make a difference.
I've been waiting for you to arrive.
All the difference.
Good, how are you? Great. Hi, Jordan. Bye, Jason.
Good morning, Jordan.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Good.
Go ahead and put your number in.
Talk with us, not at us.
That's okay. I'll look it up for you. Go ahead, sweetheart.
Okay.
All right.
Teach us what we need to know. That's how we get smarter.
Well, good morning, Sophie, Janicia, and Jordan.
And when you talk with us and teach us, give us bigger and bigger words.
Now what I'd like you to do, children, is turn around and converse with your neighbor and discuss where the mother might have gone.
Words that we can use to read and understand.
She is prey for eagles, so she hunts at night.
And that will take us places we can never reach without you.
Remember, we're entering the learning zone. Now, how can we show our respect to the children and teachers who are working?
We can walk quietly.
Yes. Okay, kids, so what I'd like you to do is continue writing your narrative, documenting your emotions if you were the baby owl and your mother abandoned you in the nest.
What can you do? Learn all that you can so that you can challenge us to be our best.
You would have stayed and assisted them in whatever they needed.
Share yourself with us and show us how to share ourselves with others. Give us courage. Give us compassion. Help us find our own voices so we can become who we are meant to be.
Why would you want to silence us?
So the second half of that video, I'd hoped we'd have time, but I talked too much. The second half of that video is healing centered. The first half is everything but. So I do want to encourage you, watch it again as you're able and consider becoming healing centered, not just in school, but in life as we interact with our young people in particular, but everyone else in general. So, one of our favorite quotes, and I want you to consider this because hopefully you've learned some things today. We don't want you to beat yourself up. We want you to do the best you can until you know better. And then when you know better, do better. That's from Maya Angelou. It's inspirational for me. I hope it is for you. Take bite-sized action. Don't try to change everything tomorrow. Allow for patience, permission, and forgiveness for what has been done. We've had people going, oh my God, I can't believe what I've done to these kids. That's not what we're after. What we're after is what are you doing to these kids starting tomorrow with these kids, for these kids? What are those relationships going to look like? And then our final bullet here, be curious and open to dream about that which currently seems impossible. Doesn't matter what it is. Is it a utopian society? Dream about it. Is it a nice big house? Dream about it. Is it college for all your kids and advanced degrees? Dream about it. It might seem currently impossible, but it is possible, and we can get there together with supporting each other. So we do have a not time for question and answer. I'm going to stop sharing. I am going to say thank you for being here and for participating. That was wonderful. And I'll hang out for a couple of minutes if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, thanks to my team, thanks to the hub, Jeanette and Kyrie, and thank you all for coming. And I wish you peace.